Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Red Wolf Roundtable right here on ASU-TV. I'm Tristan Harlan here with my good friend, my good compadre, my brother from another mother, Cooper, the Juicebox Melter. Cooper, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Tristan. Doing great. We have an early episode because women's basketball, they play at 11, not p.m., but 11 a.m. Wednesday, Kids Day. So, you know what? We're like last second call when we were up till about, 3 a.m., 2 a.m. talking.
Something like that.
Yeah. But you know what? Doing good. Filming on a Monday. Great way to start off the week.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, the women are playing Wednesday at 11 a.m., and fortunately it's not 11 p.m. That would be fun to kind of broadcast on ESPN late at night, some Sunbelt action after dark. But nonetheless, there's a lot of things we need to talk about today, but we're going to go ahead and start with the women's basketball team first, and they are currently on a 10-game win streak now. For those of you unfamiliar with A-State women's basketball, that's nothing short of the usual, as back in the day, the program was very successful under head coach Brian Boyer and the other coaches, but this is kind of a change of pace for newer Red Wolf fans because, a lot of them are not on the Destinee Rogers hype train yet. And, of course, Cooper and I have had our discussions with Coach Rogers on this show, outside of the show, not in the locker room, but before games and stuff of that nature. So, Cooper, I want to go ahead and start us off. Is Coach Rogers kind of on the cusp of getting an extension?
You would think she would be. We were looking at it before the show. Coach Rogers' contract actually runs out in 2025. She signed a 3-year deal in 2022, and it was going on till 2025. And if I looked at the calendar, and I looked at it correctly, the year's 2025. And I get, her first couple years weren't really what you wanted from her. I think she went 6-12 both years, something along those lines, where she only had 6 conference wins. But when you look at it now, we've talked about it before, she's finally brought in the players she's wanted, and she's 10-1 in conference. 10-1. That would be first, but James Madison's 11-0 in conference play. But besides that, she's 10-1 in conference, and at this rate, it's like, okay, if she's doing this with a completely new roster, how are things going to look when the team, most of the players come back in this next year and they already have a year experience under Coach Rogers, a year of experience of playing together? That team chemistry is just going to rise, and they're just only going to get better. So, a contract extension has to be coming sooner or later, in my opinion.
Right, and this is something we'll, get into a lot in, the segment after we come back from break, but kind of how I want to set this thing up is that I want to mention something, and, a lot of people can say, oh, well, certain terms in the contract, made this possible for other coaches, but Coach Jones with the football team, he has won 7 games, and, he hadn't won 10 games yet, hadn't won the Sun Belt, and he's getting contract extensions.
Didn't Coach Jones, sorry for cutting you off, but didn't Coach Jones get a contract extension after going 2-10 or 3-9?
Well, that's what I was getting ready to bring up, was that, after, unsuccessful seasons, Coach Jones has got contract extensions, and Coach Hodson earlier, I think in the month of January, got a contract extension. Now, I know there's certain clauses in the contract that kind of set that up for these coaches, but here's the thing, and I'm not going to go off the beaten path and say, oh, well, this is this person's fault. No, this is, that person's fault, or whatever. But, what I want to say is that, for Coach Rogers to inherit the team how she inherited it, with Coach Daniels, leaving the team on a whim, losing a lot of players in the portal that very same season after her interim season, gets hired, doesn't necessarily finish the way they wanted to. Of course, her first Sun Belt Conference tournament, the team got beat by Coastal Carolina very soundly, and then so on and so forth. But for this team to have 10 wins in a row, only have 1 loss at home, there's a lot of things which, again, I don't want to go too much into because, we're going to take a break here momentarily. But I just think that there's too much circumstance there for her not to get an extension, for, at least for the conversation to start becoming, apparent within the athletic department.
Yeah, it's something that maybe they're already in the works of it behind the scenes and we really don't know, because they're not going to be coming out with all that information yet until it happens. Or it could be something that they're just waiting till the end of the year and be like, we don't want to distract her right now with extending her contract and having that talks. Just let her do her thing, ride the Sun Belt Conference tournament out, and then at the end of the year, then get in the reworks of the contract.
Right. Well, Cooper, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to really dive into this discussion a little bit more right here on the Red Wolf Roundtable.
Students should watch ASU-TV just to see the creativity that a college student can get. The creativity that some of these students have is truly amazing. Getting that experience can really just take you further, and I feel like our program does that for a lot of students.
I think one of the things I learned at Arkansas State was life is 10% of what happens to you, 90% of how you respond to it, and that's just something that I live by.
A-State is home, and they're going to treat you like you're a part of the family.
ASU-TV, covering all your favorite sports. From Red Wolf Roundtable to West Side football and more, ASU-TV has you covered. Tune in now to ASU-TV for news and coverage on these sports and more.
Welcome back to Red Wolf Roundtable right here on ASU TV. Now it's time to kind of dive more into this contract discussion that we had before we went to break this last segment. But Cooper, going back to our discussion here, and you mentioned the behind the scenes work between, of course, Jeff Purinton and all those involved with those conversations. But I've got to ask, is it kind of maybe concerning for maybe some of the fans of the women's basketball team, the fact that Des has not gotten one yet?
I would say if they know about her contract, then yes, but I'm not too sure about how many fans actually know really how much longer she has here at Arkansas State. I mean, the way things are going, she's 10-1 in conference, so some people might be thinking, okay, she's definitely here for at least 2 more years, maybe has another year left on her contract, but in all reality, it's coming to an end. And if we really didn't do too much of a deep dive into it, we wouldn't really know when her contract would have ended up coming to an end. But since we're talking about, okay, why hasn't she got an extension yet, we really figured it out. But if you're an A-State fan of the women's basketball team, or just an A-State fan in general, you have a coach that's 10-1 in conference with a brand new team. I mean, brand new team, only 3 returning starters. And she hasn't got a contract extension yet. I mean, you're looking at the standings now. They're just 1 game behind James Madison. I mean, you got a 2-game lead above 3rd and 4th place with Troy and App State. But 10-1 in conference, 2nd place in the Sun Belt. I mean, that's quite a big long bye if the standings hold out till the way they do.
Right, and of course, for those of you unfamiliar, the Sun Belt did change the way their tournament format looks this season, and
It's terrible.
like we mentioned last week, it looks like an airplane wing.
Yeah.
And you get that long bye between the first round and I think the round before the semifinals where the number 1 and the number 2 seed play. But what I want to say is that for the grand scheme of things is that Coach Rogers, while yes, Cooper has mentioned the new roster, and we've mentioned the new roster a bunch, but here's the thing, and this is kind of playing devil's advocate a little bit, is that Coach Rogers, while yes, she does have a losing record, I don't think there is a lot of coaches, at least now, that can stay with a program like Coach Des has at Arkansas State. Now, don't get me wrong. Has there been seasons where she should have won more games with the team, especially with certain people on the roster? Of course. Now, is there certain games that if they were played today that there would be a different outcome? 100%. But when you're looking at it from a program standpoint in the future of the program, I mean, logistically speaking, there's not many coaches that are going to come to Jonesboro, Arkansas, and coach Arkansas State women's basketball because not a lot of people care about the program. Coach Rogers cares about the program. Now, when I say care, I don't mean, hey, let me go throw on a Red Wolf on my shirt and say Wolves up in every press conference and act like, I'm all in it. I'm all in for Arkansas State. No, what I mean by that is you don't get a lot of people who are from Central Arkansas, who played college basketball in Arkansas, who grew up in a coaching family in the state of Arkansas, to come to programs like an Arkansas State and necessarily really care about the integrity of a program. Now, you can go out and you could hire the greatest coach in the world. Sure, you'll win championships. Sure, you'll have, conference championships, but you really want a coach that cares about your program. And that's where I feel like Coach Des does with this program. And, of course, yes, her sister's on the team. Yes, she has a lot of players that are JUCO or not well-known talent in the grand scheme of basketball in the college ranks today. But I think in the era of college basketball that we are in currently, whether it's with the transfer portal or it's with NIL or wherever you draw your line, I think that the fact that there's a coach at a program that grew up knowing about the history of the program, that grew up around, the state, that was familiar with the institution, and that coach hasn't gotten an extension yet, I don't agree with it. Now I'm saying this because I don't want it to just be, you're friends with Des, you guys have had Des on the show, you guys are close with Des, yada, yada, yada. I would say this about any coach for any program. I don't care if it's the team up north. I don't care if it's Memphis. I don't care. There's got to be a line that's drawn. Now, of course, old administration did bring her on with Matt Daniel, and new administration doesn't like to have old administration's moves in their program. I get that, but I don't know. There's a lot of workings that we will never know and that the average fan will never know unless, you just are a fly on the wall in every meeting and you just have all the connections in the world. But what I will say is this, and then, we'll kind of move on to something else, some more things about the women's basketball program, is that I don't think logistically, and I could be dead wrong about this, but I don't think any other coach in the country could do what Coach Des is doing with this team. Now, of course, when I say any coach in the country, I'm excluding Dawn Staley and Kim Mulkey from that conversation because obviously that's a no-brainer. I mean, those two of the greatest women's college coaches of all time. I'm not going to look like an idiot when I say stuff like that. But you take any other coach at any other institution that's not Kim Mulkey or Dawn Staley, and I don't think they have the success that Des is having right now. Now, it could be all based off luck. Mm-hmm. It could just be winner's luck, beginner's luck, and, to quote the movie Major League, just maybe somebody had a hunch that Coach Rogers was due. But, again, going back to what I said, I do not think there's a lot of coaches around the country that can come to an institution, especially like Arkansas State, and have the success Des is having.
Well, overall, before we move on, it will say a lot about our athletic office and the people in the athletic department who are in charge of the contract extensions and the contract negotiations if, at the end of the day, they don't either, one, redo her contract and add a couple more years, or extend her. That will speak true volume of how things are run around there because everyone's talking about they want success here at Arkansas State. All the people I knew, they're talking about the good old days in the 2010s when it was just football, but now you're looking at it, football. They just went and won a bowl game. They're coming off that. Men's basketball is coming off one of the best seasons they've had in forever, making it a Sun Belt Conference tournament championship game, and now they're looking to be the one seed there. Women's basketball, they're 10-1, like we showed. They're second in the conference. Volleyball, they're doing great. I mean, besides soccer, really the only down team here at Arkansas State because, track and field, they're I mean, it's track and field. Everybody knows about them. And then bowling, they're always making the tournament. I mean, they just can't get over the hump and win the national championship. But we have success here at Arkansas State, and Des is a part of that success. If you don't like her, then that's a you problem. But she's been a part of the success here at Arkansas State. She brings the right culture that you would want out of a basketball coach. And, you know, this team, they really glued together. And, you know, you can talk about, well, that's just the players getting to know each other and everything, but it all starts with a good head coach. And, you know, it's only a matter of time before she does get extended. I think she will. And if she doesn't, then that's going to be a long talk.
Well, yeah, we'll have to have that conversation if that does not happen. But regardless of that, moving forward, they are playing Georgia State upcoming. Georgia State, who is 11-11 overall, 5-6 in conference. Of course, you're seeing the tail of the tape, so to speak, on the screen now. And, you know, you're looking at that three-point percentage, and, you know, yeah, it's above 30%. Yeah, they're scoring a lot of points per game. But Arkansas State, for those of you that don't know, they are like, I want to say top 5 in the country for three-pointers attempted. So, you know, this team likes to shoot the tray ball. And, you know, I don't want to say this game means more than any other game on the schedule, but 11-11 team coming to your home.
At 11 a.m.
Definition of a trap game, if you ask me.
Yeah, it's a definition of a trap game because it's a team that, you know, you should beat, and you're playing on a Wednesday at 11 a.m. It's kind of a recipe for, all right, how are you going to get your team ready? They're playing at 11 a.m. on a Wednesday. It's not like it's where you have a Saturday game and, you know, you have Friday off. You get to relax. You're coming off Monday, Tuesday. You're in classes both of those days unless your schedule is just different. You're coming off of classes. You're having to wake up a little bit earlier on a Wednesday to go play in a game that's going to be packed with a bunch of kids for the Kids Day game. It's going to be crazy. But it is a true definition of a trap game. But when we're looking at it, Georgia State's only averaging 66 points per game. They're giving up 68 points per game. And while it is a possibility for a trap game, I feel like when just looking at Georgia State stats, it's going to work into favor for Arkansas State because when you're playing this women's team, their whole goal is for you to really they want you to keep up with them. They want you to try to keep up with their pace, and teams have proven they just can't.
Right, and I do want to make just one more comment, and then, you know, we'll go to break and readjust for men's basketball discussion. But, you know, this team, while yes, definition of a trap game, yes, there's a lot of games at home for the remainder of the schedule. I mean, the real problem that I think a lot of teams are going to have coming into First National Bank Arena is that you never know on any given night who's going to be the leading scorer for the Red Wolves. I mean, of course, we've seen Zion Shannon, Winter Rogers, Kennedy Montu, Nay Brown. Those are just a couple of names to mention. But I feel like on any given night, anybody on that roster, with maybe an exception of 2, can give you 20 a night. And that's not including maybe a 10-rebound outing from Winter Rogers or a 10-assist game from Nay Brown or a 10-assist game from Chrislyn Rose. But I think that from a grand scheme standpoint that, yes, definition of a trap game, yes, there's a lot of games left on the schedule that this team has got to prepare for. I think that Georgia State's going to have a problem stopping everybody.
Yeah, it's like you said, anybody could be the leading scorer of the game. It's just whoever really catches fire from three-point land first, because whenever one person makes it, you know for a fact they're going to go back down court and take the most ridiculous shot.
Right. Well, we're going to send it back to break. When we come back, we're going to put our hard hats on and start talking about the men's basketball team here at Arkansas State University. Stick around. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Red Wolf Roundtable. Where else but on ASU-TV?
Say experience counts, it's experience that counts for a lifetime.
Boxes. boxes, I cannot fit in the boxes. Stop it, quitting was never an option. Exhausted, this passion is never exhausted. And you cannot stop it, nah, you cannot stop it. Quitting was never an option. And you cannot stop it, nah, you cannot stop it.
ASU-TV, shows like Red Wolf Roundtable, ASU-TV News, Westside Football, and more. Gain real-life experience while doing what you love. Get involved with ASU-TV today.
Red Wolf Radio is a student-led organization at Arkansas State University wanting to hear your takes on pop culture, music, the news, and college life. Just about anything you can think of. Located in the Education and Communications building on campus, we are always looking for more volunteers. So if you're an Arkansas State University student, no matter the major, and this is something that interests you, shoot us an email at redwolfradio@astate.edu. That's redwolfradio@astate.edu. Let them hear you howl.
Welcome back to Red Wolf Roundtable here on ASU TV. And now it's time to deep dive into the men's basketball. But Tristan, what do you got here?
It's time to put our hard hats on, partner.
All right.
Let's find us a hard hat.
Okay.
No. Yay, go Red Wolves! No.
Oh,
Here, you want a football jersey?
it's not football season.
Or that's not gonna work. That's very, very interesting. We don't have a hard hat. Why don't we have a hard hat, guys? What are we doing around here? How do you expect us to talk about Arkansas State athletics when we don't have a hard hat? I mean, that's the entire gimmick. I don't know what you guys expect us to do without a hard hat. I mean, come on now. We've been planning this all season long. We knew Arkansas State was going to be this good. Why don't we have a hard hat?
I don't know. I guess we got to put in more work and get that hard hat player of the game.
Dang it, I need some blue collar points.
Yeah.
Anyways, moving back to focus now. Yes, moving back to focus now. I don't know. Talking about the men's team.
Yeah.
The men's team is on fire.
They are on fire. They're first in the Sunbelt Conference play, and they're just looking great. It's been announced they have another game on live TV, either ESPNU or ESPN2. You're seeing against Troy. February 15th, the game got moved to 7 p.m., and we're back under the ESPN, the bright lights, and it's kind of funny. There's going to be a doubleheader that game. So the women are playing at noon on that Saturday at home, and that's going to be on ESPN+. And what you don't know is ESPN+ has a different crew than ESPN. So Tristan, tell us what's going to happen from the time the women's game in to prepare for the men's game that's going to be broadcasted live on TV.
Well, you see here is that the women's game is going to be earlier than the men's game. So after the game concludes, myself and a bunch of fellow broadcasters here at Arkansas State University are going to have to hightail it to the arena, prepare to take down, to strike is the correct key term here in the broadcasting industry. And thank you. Is to strike everything and then let the ESPN crew come in and set up all their stuff before tip, or actually an hour before tip, because they have to call out for what's called transmission. So yeah, it's going to be kind of chaotic. But you know, Arkansas State did just beat Texas State on the road. So here, come here. Let's do Texas State in honor, and let's take a selfie real quick. Oh wait, never mind. wrong chancellor. Anyways, so looking forward of this team, they are currently first in the Sun Belt Conference.
They are. They're looking at first place right now with a 9-2 record in conference play, looking real good. And you're seeing the standings now. They're a game above Troy, South Alabama, who is up at the first spot for a while, has really just kind of started to fall down, lost a couple games, lost to ULM, and Troy's really been a quiet team, kind of working their way up, and that's why the game will be on ESPN2 or the U. And you're looking at it, we don't have the full standings because the bottom two teams, well, they're not worth talking about. And there are some two teams, well, not one of them, I could care less for them, but the other team that's at the very bottom.
Go Coastal Carolina, baby.
No. ULM, they suck. I'm sorry, but they suck. I'm not sorry. That school, I'm just going to be quiet.
Tell us how you really feel, partner.
I know. But besides that, we're in first place. We're playing great basketball. Isaiah, like you said, they played Texas State this past Saturday. And Isaiah Nelson, what a game. Kobe Julian, what a game. T-Baby Ford, what a game. Didn't even need Taryn Todd to do Taryn Todd things. And, this team is just on a roll, Tristan.
Right, and you brought up Isaiah Nelson. Speaking of the big man at center, Isaiah Nelson went 10 for 10 from the free throw line in this last outing, which I believe the Sun Belt kind of came out and said it marked the first time in a number of years that it's happened in a conference game.
Yeah, and, shot perfect from the field. I think he had a double-double. If I can remember my stat line correctly, I'm pretty sure he ended up with a double-double. But, it was only a matter of time Isaiah Nelson had his breakout game. Ever since he wasn't in the starting lineup to start the year because he was injured, wasn't playing, and they've slowly added him back, and he's been starting. But, he hasn't really gone off. He's been having a quiet 8 points and about 7 rebounds and 2 or 3 blocks. But it was kind of wondering, okay, I guess Isaiah Nelson is really just going to, take a step back. You have all the star talent, dish out the rock, you get rebounds, and then Texas State came along, and the two big men, Kobe Julian and Isaiah Nelson, had a great game. Pretty sure Kobe Julian ended with 19 points. Isaiah had about 22, 21. Just overall a game that, it was long overdue for Isaiah Nelson.
Right, and look, here's the thing that I will say about this team is that, again, similar to the women's team, you don't know who's going to give it to you on any given night. I mean, of course, Kobe Julian, Sun Belt Conference preseason player of the year on the outlook. Here's the thing with this men's team, and this is what kind of grinds my gears, so to speak, about this team, but you got all this media coverage for this team saying how, this team's really good, blah, 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 blah. All these news reporters from the area are at the press conferences talking about, hey, Coach Hodson, you think the Bills were going to win the Super Bowl. What are you going to do now or whatever? But I just think this team has all the makings to be a great team, but the media coverage doesn't match the resume, if that makes sense. I mean, yes, they went on the road to beat Memphis. Yes, they've won a lot of big games on the road. But there's a reason why the AP has not gave them any votes. There's a reason why the coaches poll has not given them any votes. I mean, yeah, they're number one in the Sun Belt Conference, but what's the underlying problem here that this team is not able to get over the hump and get a vote? Now, I'm not saying this team is bad by any means, but what I'm saying is, and what I'm posing is that if they were not as good as the media is making them out to me, but if they had a little bit more flavor, I think is the correct way I want to say this, then they would at least have, 20 votes in the AP. Now, it's hard to make the AP, and a lot of people say the AP doesn't matter because the team is still getting projected to go to March Madness. But what I'm going to say is that for a team who beat the number 16 team on the road, for a team that's won all these games on the road, for a team who lost to Arkansas State to win all these games on the road, to make Arkansas State hypothetically look better on paper, there's got to be some kind of reason that they're not getting votes.
Well, it's just because I honestly think, and this is how it always is for teams in the Sun Belt Conference, it's because we're in the Sun Belt Conference. The only way we would even think about cracking the top 25 as if we only have 2 losses, like barely any. Either we're undefeated or we only have 2 to 3 losses. Because, I mean, if you look at it last year, James Madden, they were 25-2 at one point. They couldn't even get in the top 25. And then when they finally did, they go on the road and lose to App State. So it's teams in the Sun Belt, they just look at past history and be like, okay, well, James Madison was this good. Then we put them in the top 25, and then they proceeded to lose 3 games. It's just because we're in the Sun Belt. The only way we could have think about getting put in the top 25 is if we went out or if we were undefeated in conference and we went on to beat Alabama at the beginning of the year. It's nothing against the team. It's nothing against Coach Hodgson, because I feel like there's many teams in the country who are in the top 25 that we are better than and we could go toe-to-toe with. But it's because we're in the Sun Belt Conference. They don't get the respect they really deserve. Other teams don't. And it's just, you do what you got to do. Just keep winning. Don't worry about the AP poll. This team's really good. I wouldn't worry about it too much, because the moment you get ranked, that's when, okay, you start getting a little hot head. You're thinking, okay, I'm big dog around here, blah, blah, blah. And then you go on and lose 3 in a row.
Right. And that's a great point. And like I said, I'm not sitting here and saying that the Arkansas State men's team is bad. They are actually very well. They're, like Cooper said, a lot better than a lot of the teams that are currently ranked in the top 25. But I just wanted to pose that because there's always something. And, I just think that while there's a lot of games left in the regular season, and while Arkansas State probably will not be ranked at any point this season, I think that it should not take away from how great this team is playing, because certain media members are making this team out to be the greatest team ever. If that makes sense.
And my thing about it is, you're going to have the flaky media. They're only going to show up when the team's doing good, when they're on ESPN. KATV, I swear the only time y'all even care about coming to an A-State game is when we're on ESPN or in a bowl game. So why don't y'all just stay in Little Rock, go travel up to Fayetteville and cheer on a team that's 1-6 or 1-10 in conference play. I'm tired of seeing y'all here. Y'all only care when we're doing good, and then just post a little 5-sentence article. I'm sounding like some people on Twitter, but it's really annoying when y'all only come to the ESPN game. You know what? Don't worry about it. We have the coverage we want from the loyal fans here. Go worry about a team that's 1 conference, 2 conference wins, that are paying all these players millions of dollars with Walmart money and can't even win a game. But I just had to get that out. Sorry.
Well, I'm glad.
Thank you.
I'm glad you said it, because that's what I was getting to.
It's so annoying.
Because, and I'm not going to say specific names here for the sake of starting a Twitter argument, but there's a certain reporter that the only time that person ever mentioned Arkansas State prior to basketball season was during the UCA game when Corey Rucker either caught it or didn't catch it. After that, did not hear a single word. Now you get the basketball season, they get what, 4 linear games?
Yeah.
And now it's, let's get some highlights for the 8 o'clock news for KATV. And look, I'm not hating, I am not discrediting anybody's work when I say this, but how can you call yourself a reporter in the state of Arkansas when you're not even worried about all of the teams in the state of Arkansas?
Yeah, and I mean, if you're talking about, everybody's excuse is, there's more Fayetteville fans than A-State fans. Well, they're following teams that are more successful. Okay, that may be the case. A-State basketball hasn't been good in the past recent years. But now look at it. If you look at the basketball team, the 2 men's and women's teams in Fayetteville, they're absolutely terrible. I mean, they are terrible. And then you look at the 2 teams in Jonesboro, Arkansas State University, Red Wolves, 10-1 in conference, 2nd place for the women's, 9-2 in conference play, versus in the Sun Belt, getting these ESPN games. And the only time you want to come is, oh, they're on ESPN too. Let's come to this game, blah, blah, blah. Oh, okay. When are you going to start sending a guy up for women's games? They play at 11 a.m. I'm sure y'all have nothing going on Wednesday at 11 a.m. Conference play. See the two second-ranked Sunbelt team take on Georgia State at home. Okay, the women's play Saturday at 2 o'clock. Why not bring somebody up then? Okay, they play again, the women's play again next Wednesday at 7 p.m. at home. Bring somebody up then. But y'all aren't going to. They also play Saturday, the 15th, for a doubleheader. But let me guess. Y'all are just going to come down for 7 p.m. since it's on ESPNU or ESPN2. I mean, prove me wrong. And you know what? I'm not worried about it because y'all won't. Y'all only care about this team in Fayetteville that gets paid Tyson Chicken money, Walmart money. That's ran by Jerry Jones, who, if you look at his teams that he owns in Dallas and teams that he pumps money to in Fayetteville, they suck. They're just absolutely terrible, and y'all just want to cover them because, oh, money, money, money. I don't give a crap. This team at Arkansas State, they are the most successful team in the state of Arkansas besides maybe Harding football. If you look at the Sun Belt Conference, yeah, it may be easier talent, but compare Arkansas State's conference championships they've won in football compared to Arkansas in the SEC. You know how many Arkansas has? 0. I'm just saying. Arkansas, you're talking, oh, we've been to Final Four appearances, blah, blah, blah. Cool, you haven't won anything since the 1990s. Something Jerry and Arkansas all have in common. They haven't done anything since the 1990s.
Huh.
That's all I got to say. But they want to cover them. But you're going to come down on the 15th and cover the ESPN game. Yeah, okay, cool. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean,
sorry.
I mean, here's the thing, and I'm not gonna steal this thunder or anything, but I'm just gonna make a fact. This is a fact statement. Since 2021, Cooper and I have covered the Red Wolves day in, day out, except for a certain period of time that we're not going to talk about. But day in, day out, we've covered the Red Wolves no matter what, win or lose. And I know people make the argument, well, there's more money, as Cooper mentioned, but look at the graduation numbers. More people from the state of Arkansas that lives in central Arkansas, per se, more than likely have graduated from Arkansas State than Fayetteville, because Fayetteville is just way too much money. And I get it, they heal, whatever, cool, glad you did it. But here's the thing, especially at these news stations, a lot of them came from Arkansas State. A lot of them are Arkansas kids that...
Steve Sullivan.
I wasn't going to say names.
Sorry.
Gosh, son. But I don't get it. Okay, and you know, we can have a chat about it. We can get the numbers and we can talk about it more later. But I will never understand why and it's not even a travel issue because it's an hour.
I mean, from Little Rock, it's only about an hour and a half.
Literally, I make that
drive. It takes
drive
about 3 hours to go from Little Rock, maybe even 4 from Little Rock to Fayetteville.
You see the point I'm trying to make here? I mean, yes, I get gas is a little expensive nowadays, and I get wear and tear on vehicles. But if you're getting a gas card and you're getting a company-issued vehicle, there's no reason why these people should not be out here covering the Red Wolves, or at least retweeting. Our own governor can't even retweet when the Arkansas State Red Wolves gets a big win. It takes people complaining on Twitter for her to do it. Now, I'm not going to get into that because that's Pandora's box, and that's just going to cause more heartache than anything. But what I will say is that it's kind of embarrassing that we talk about, you know, oh, we're Arkansas. We love the state of Arkansas. We cover news in the state of Arkansas. We do stuff in the state of Arkansas. But where are you when the team is this good, and I'm just speaking for women from the women's standpoint. Where are you that now they're second in the conference and they're doing great on a 7 p.m., 8 o'clock tip, or even a 6 o'clock tip? There was only three people in this past press conference. Myself, Chris Hutchinson, and J.C. Cox. That's 3. And yes, it interchanges, give or take the day, whatever. But I just don't get the stigmatism that, oh, we're going to cover every Arkansas sport, and hey, let's go talk about this small high school out in Dumas, Arkansas that nobody and their grandmother has heard except for the people that live in Dumas, Arkansas, but they can't travel an hour and a half from their station and cover Arkansas State. Now, again, I don't make those calls. I just say what I see.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. And for the people at KATV, if you want a game to cover, since it's on ESPNU again, I'm sure y'all probably find some crappy highlights that y'all pulled from YouTube and put it on your show. Arkansas State takes on Marshall this Wednesday on ESPNU.
Oh, I'm done.
I mean, we're averaging 79 points per game, shooting lights out, 42% from the field. Marshall's keeping up there with us, but 9-2 conference, ESPNU. If you want a 1-minute highlight, watch KATV that night.
Oh, and a game time update. Don't forget on February 15th.
KATV, look at that.
Shut up. Don't forget against Troy. It's on ESPN2 or ESPNU. That you broke me with that one.
I'm sorry. I had to. It's been something that's building up a long time because, man.
I don't even know what this show is anymore. We talk about Arkansas State sports, but half the time it's just us sitting here being stupid.
Hey, you know what? Someone has to call people out. And like we said, we'll ask for forgiveness when we need to.
Anyways, I think that's going to do it for this week's episode of Red Wolf Roundtable.
No harms towards anybody. Just
I'm going to go find the muzzle that's going to fit his cute face. Anyways, you've been watching Red Wolf Roundtable here on ASU-TV. Hopefully we will see you guys next week.